Live and in person here from Epping, New Hampshire, home of three of New Hampshire's governors. Politicking with Mr. B. Three governors that were come from the sons of Epping, of which I can only name one guy by the name of Prescott. The other two, one of these days I'll figure out, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, what a beautiful day we've had. Beautiful day we've had up here, but unfortunately, there are other places in the nation that have not been so lucky or so fortunate, and there have been some storms that have come through, and I've come to find out there are storms that have turned deadly, especially for, I understand, a couple of children were killed, and some other people that are still missing. And we do pray for their families and for the loved ones that as many people that can possibly be found safe and rescued, we certainly hope for. We don't wish any kind of ills on anyone here at FFN Network or politicking or in our own personal lives. That having been said, Mr. Blazeman, we have an American flag to run up the pole. We've got an awful lot of things to be getting into this evening. Please, if you run the colors up, let's get this show on the road. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And when I say justice for all, I don't mean only certain people in certain political agenda or rooms or people who are walking in certain paths or whatever else. The justice for all, those certain inalienable
I
rights
pledge allegiance
of
to the
life,
flag
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were laid out by our Creator for everyone that is here. We have some rules. We have some regulations that if you weren't born here, you can come here and we'll be happy to have you and bring you into our fold. But you have to do it. You have to do it the right way. So if you are a person who has come here who has breached our borders illegally, please go out, follow the rules, come back, and seek out your life here in America and seek out your American dream. That's what I have to say about that. I want to give a couple of shouts out over here. We've got a number of things that are on my mind to schedule. First thing, by the way, if you've got something you'd like to shout out, if you're happy to put out, send it to us, ffnnetwork9 at gmail.com, and I'll be happy to give you a shout out. One thing I want to say, a dear friend, Phyllis Marie Elliott at Hidden Pond Farm and Equine Rescue in Brentwood, New Hampshire. This coming June the 1st, they're having an open house over there and a fundraising thing. But go out there, see them, the beautiful majesty of the horses that they take in. They rescue them from things like the slaughter auctions, or if people are no longer able to care for a beast that they have. Phyllis and her people take these horses in and they nurse them back to health. A lot of them come in, they're in terrible condition. And they become friends and companions for people to live out their lives together. It's a wonderful operation. Phyllis is a woman who has a heart not of gold but of all precious metals. Salt of the earth, nice people. Hidden Pound Farm Equine Rescue down in Brentwood. Look them up. If you happen to have a few spare bucks, send them off because it'll help. Want to give a shout out to Ann Hartford, Jeremy Kaplan, and Kim Medeiros Parker. Our people that have been writing in and so forth have been very, very instrumental in helping us to help you to improve our things, getting us some information, whatever else. Give a round of applause. Thank you very much. You folks are wonderful. We want to reach out. We got a phone number here for you, 508-974 4231. Now, as a call in, you can call in and speak with us live. If we're talking about something, you've got an opinion about, call us. Join us. Tell us what's on your mind. Help us to make the broadcast that much brighter and that much more informative. And if you want to argue against it, hey, we're not the kind of people who turn around and only listen to one side of the story. Okay. All right. We've got some Trump stuff going on over here that we want to talk about. First and foremost, the jury was given the case to start deliberating whether or not they find Donald Trump guilty of blah blah yada yada flippity flappity floop and all that mustard and onions and ape shit that is going on. And they have come back now twice, not once, twice. They have contacted the the uh, the judge. I hasten to call the judge in the case that came out. Once they asked for to have testimony from Pecker and Cohen be read back to them. How did you like to go through your life with a name like Pecker? I'm sorry. Thank God his name wasn't Richard Pecker. You know, his parents had only so much of a sense of humor. But the jury specifically wanted to have that poor Pecker. But the jury specifically wanted to have the testimony that was read out because apparently they're trying. It sounds to me like they're trying to figure out a nuances if they were actually planning to conspire to do whatever it is they're saying that Donald Trump did, which nobody is saying was illegal, but now they're saying is a crime. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how incredibly fucking stupid this is. Can you imagine this shit? I haven't seen the most such incredibly vapid horse shit ever in my life. Pardon me, I just all slipped out. Anyway, after they got the answers and so forth, the stuff read back to them, they went back, and then they came back again to ask the judge to read him back the instructions that he gave to them before on how to proceed and how to do these things and what decisions they are supposed to be doing. Now, I don't know how much you folks know about what's going on with this jury or what the jury is comprised of. Of course, it is a 12-member jury. And on this jury, I believe there are at least two attorneys, believe it or not. There's a school teacher of some kind. There are a couple of attorneys, and there's, I think, an architect and a few other, whatever it is, varied and sundry things. But this is something that sticks in the back of my mind as something that could either be a very big help or an incredible disaster for Donald Trump. Because you have attorneys that are schooled and taught and know what the procedure is and so forth. Now, it depends on what form of law that they practice. Of course, when you become an attorney, you have to go pass the bar exam, which encompasses all of the aspects of laws and so forth. But if you don't practice it, let's say you're only a real estate attorney, you may not know the procedures for criminal liability and so forth and making decisions and whatnot. But something around here is telling me from the questions that they asked that these attorneys might be trying to split the hairs that would cause somebody to decide, well, maybe there is something here, maybe there isn't, or maybe somebody was actually listening and had thought trained enough to realize that there is a timeline here. There is a timeline. And when there's a point where they said this happened, and they say this happened, but it doesn't match up. It's kind of like saying, okay, you have a piece of property that has nothing on it, no trees, just it's a flat piece of property, nothing there at all. And I walk up to you and say, how much would you charge me to build an addition? An addition on what? There's no house there. You can't build an addition on a house until the house is there. And this is what they're facing. There is testimony that has come out that conflicts with each other as to what time someone says this happened with this and who was in this place and who wasn't. So who should know what happened in this meeting? Should this person not know what happened in this meeting? And I really think that the people inside that room, those 12 hallowed jurors, are in the point of figuring it out and trying to find out, wait a minute, this person said this, but this couldn't have happened with this because this wasn't here yet. I hope you're following me. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm sure you are. You're smart, brilliant individuals that are out there. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. One of the things that really I find incredibly disturbing, and not just myself, but members of the judicial committee or the judicial world, say that for the judge to have taken a misdemeanor and upgraded it to a felony, and for their prosecuting service as well, and say to the jury does not have to 100% agree on everything in order to find them guilty is absolutely wrong. The judge, from my understanding, I wasn't inside the room, but from what was reported and what I understand, the judge said, okay, you're a 12-member jury, and ordinarily a 12-member jury has to agree 100% that in order for this person to be guilty of this, you all have to agree on it. No, this time the judge said, well, you know what? You don't all have to agree. Just a few of you have to agree, and we can go ahead and call them guilty. What a load of horse shit! Can you fucking believe this? I can't. There are so many things, so many egregious things that have happened in all of this Trump case that screams the case is going to be overturned for certain. There are things that happen that they should have just taken and declared a mistrial. And unfortunately, it hasn't been done. And this judge, I think, you know what? Call me crazy, but I think this judge is just going on and doing this freaking crap. Why? Because he wants to write a book. And he wants to go on the lecture circuit. And he wants to go down in history as being the judge that got Donald Trump convicted. My God, I can't believe in my heart, I cannot believe anywhere in my soul that former President Donald J. Trump is guilty of anything. If anybody's guilty of anything, it's the judicial system itself being guilty of criminal stupidity. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a little gas. I'm a little upset tonight. Say hello to our friend here, Agnes, the angry chicken mug, full of coffee with cream and nothing else. That'll come later. All right, Mr. Blazeman, we have some video over here. Our dear friend, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Sun, the guy that loves to go out and play like he's a gangster, Robert De Niro, came out and started shooting his mouth off again. Mr. Blazeman, do we have some lovely video of Robert De Niro that I'd love these people to go ahead and have a look at? We can sit down and watch this guy verbally pick his own nose. We got
you are gangsters. You are gangsters.
You're washed up.
Fuck you. You're a little punk. You're a softy. You're a nobody. Your movies suck. You're trash. You're trash. You're done. You're done after this guy died. You're done.
Don't start crying on us.
You are gangsters.
You're washed up.
Fuck you.
Unbelievable. Robert De Niro, the fellow himself who has spent his time portraying things like used up, spent boxers, fellow who got lucky enough to land roles playing a gangster, a mobster, a person who goes out and kills, murders, and whatever else, and threatens and intimidates and does this crazy shit and whatever else, and throughout his entire life, that's all he's done. Except, no. I still remember, ladies and gentlemen, there is that time, and I don't know. I hope you've got, Mr. Blazeman, you've got that video clip I sent you from. Uh, he did a movie with, of all things, Hanoi Jane Fonda, the lady who herself during the Vietnam War decided that the North Vietnamese were nice and sweet and cuddly, and went and cuddled up to them and spent time and embraced and gave hope and gave support and whatever else to the enemy. And when someone from our side who was a prisoner gave her a note, secreted it to her so that she could get it back to our government, telling him, describing in detail the hideous tortures and all of the war crime atrocities that were going on, if she could, what does she do? She doesn't bring it back. She doesn't release it to our people at all. She hands it over to the North Vietnamese army. And you know that the person who would pen that, what must have happened to that poor prisoner? Hanoi Jane. And what happens? Robert De Niro goes and he cuddles up to Hanoi Jane and does a movie down in Waterbury, Connecticut, called Stanley and Iris. And what does he do? What does he portray? A babbling idiot moron who can't read. Riding a bicycle through Waterbury, Connecticut. Unbelievable. Robert De Niro, the guy who sits around and makes money off of the fact that other people were murdered, were intimidated, were threatened, were cheated. Things were run like the old school Italy down in Palermo with the Pedrone. And this guy says that New York is his town. Can you believe that? An actor says that New York is his town, says that he was born there, and Donald Trump has no place being in New York. Robert De Niro, fucktard, shut up and go home. You're not doing the world any favors. You're washed up as an actor. You're a has-been. Go collect your money from your residuals and go ahead and drink your espresso, sit down and shut up and go home. Unbelievable. All right. Well, we've got a little something else going on over here that we'd like to show up. And by the way, we've got some messages that were in here. We got from our dear friend Nick from Unboxed Thoughts. Says good evening. Turn that oxygen up. Thank you very much. I'm doing the best I can right now. I don't want to go too high because, well, I don't want to go like a big balloon. And Ann Hartford says she should not have been allowed back in this country. Yeah, no kidding. I'm talking about Hanoi Jane. Jane Fonda, the daughter of Henry Fonda, a great American, wonderful actor. And yes, the fellow was a Democrat, but not at all like the left-wing moronic idiot dweebs that we have now. Unbelievable. We've got some video here I want to get up to you, Mr. Blazeman. Could you go ahead and line them up? We got some stuff to go ahead and launch that.
The scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and
you may remember, ladies and gentlemen, I spoke about this quite a while ago, but comedian, now the late comedian over here, has something to say about what's going on and how our country is and is being running. You go ahead, please. Blazeman, you got the video started. Go ahead and roll it.
I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together. Things that point out our similarities instead of our differences. Because that's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. Fairly simple thing, happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything you can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs. Now, to balance the scale, I'd like to talk about some things that bring us together.
Okay, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Comedian George Carlin, the fellow who broke so much ground in America's entertainment and broadcasting. When he had done some things and so forth, was on the radio, and there were people that were trying to get him shut down, and they wound up trying to censor him and whatnot. He came out and he said, you know what? I'm not going to change. I'm going to go on, keep doing the things that I'm doing. Why? Because I have the right to do it. And if you don't like what I'm doing, guess what? There's two knobs on radio: the on/off, and the dial where you can change the station and listen to something else. Same thing with a television or whatever. And now we have the same sort of thing with internet. You can either stroll on past something else, whatever else. But George Carlin broke so much ground, and inarguably, yeah, he did have some racy way of describing and talking about things. But you know what? It hit home. And a lot of the things that he had to say in a comedic way, educated. And that is why I often say if you bore a person, you impose upon them. But when you're interesting and you're captivating, that is when you educate. And George Carlin had a career that educated for many, many years. We thank very much. This show isn't about George Carlin, of course, but I had to get that out. The man did an awful lot. And thanks very much for watching. Well, we also have another video coming up now. Do we have that? I hope that's in the queue. We can go ahead and get that launched. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe some of the stuff that you're about to see, but I'm telling you, nevertheless, it is all exactly quite true. And these are things that you need to see and we need to talk about. Again, 508-974-4231. If you want to call in, you got something you want to have to say. Mr. Blaisman, are we ready with that? I certainly hope we've got that ready to go. Here we go.
Most of you don't know that coronavirus as a model of a pathogen was isolated in 1965. Coronavirus was identified in 1965 as one of the first infectious replicatable viral models that could be used to modify a series of other experiences of the human condition. It was isolated once upon a time associated with the common cold. But what's particularly interesting about its isolation in 1965 was that it was immediately identified as a pathogen that could be used and modified for a whole host of reasons. And you heard me correctly, that was 1965. And by the way, these slides are public domain. You're welcome to look at every single reference. Every comment that I made is based on published material, so do make sure that you look at those references. But in 1966, the very first COV coronavirus model was used as a transatlantic biological experiment in human manipulation. And you heard the date, 1966. I hope you're getting the point of what I'm saying. This is not an overnight thing. This is actually something that's been long in the making. A year before I was born, we had the first transatlantic coronavirus data sharing experiment between the United States and the United Kingdom. And in 1967, the year I was born, we did the first human trials on inoculating people with modified coronavirus.
Hold the video, please.
Isn't that amazing?
Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear this? The coronavirus, originally isolated in 1965, and 2 or 3 years later, they had developed a way of vaccinating people for it. In 1967, 1968, whatever, 1969, whatever it was. Not 2009 or 2019. In the latter part, or near the middle part, or just beyond the middle part of the 20th century, they had an inoculation for the coronavirus. Continue, please.
56 years ago, the overnight success of a pathogen that's been 56 years in engineering. And I want that to chill with all of you. Where were we when we actually allowed, in violation of biological and chemical weapons treaties, where were we as a human civilization when we thought it was an acceptable thing to do to take a pathogen for the United States and infect the world with it? Where was that conversation? And what should have been that conversation in 1967? That conversation wasn't had. Ironically, the common cold was turned into a chimera in the 1970s. And in 1975, 1976, and 1977, we started figuring out how to modify coronavirus by putting it into different animals, pigs and dogs. And not surprisingly, by the time we got to 1990, we found out that coronavirus as an infectious agent was an industrial problem for two primary industries, the industries of dogs and pigs. Dog breeders and pigs found that coronavirus created gastrointestinal problems, and that became the basis for Pfizer's first spike protein vaccine patent, filed, are you ready for this, in 1990.
Okay, hold the video, please.
Did you hear what I just said?
If you didn't understand what that means, ladies and gentlemen, we'll come back. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to come back. We will have a little discussion. We will continue with this video. These are things I'm sure you weren't expecting to find out. And the mainstream media doesn't want you to find out, but it's there. So much for this thing about following the science. I'm Mr. B. We'll be back in about 3.5, 4 minutes.
My name is Steven, your Public Relations Officer at FFN Media Network. We believe that every story deserves to be heard. Every voice deserves to be amplified, and every idea deserves to shine. As a small media company, we are committed to creating a platform where content creators, visionaries, and changemakers like you can thrive. You might say to yourself, why do we need FFN Network? Well, let me tell you what we can do for you. 1. Our mission is simple: empower, elevate, and engage. We are not just another media outlet. 2. Our producers will help you build your show, add content, and put you on 15 different platforms. 3. We help you promote your show. Whether it is through captivating articles, thought-provoking videos, or inspiring podcasts, we are here to help you make a difference. What sets us apart? At FFN Media Network, we embrace hard work. Our team of talented producers and creators come from all social classes, ensuring that our content reflects a rich tapestry of experiences, cultures, and viewpoints. Join the FFN team. Join FFN Media Network and be part of a community that celebrates creativity, authenticity, and positive impact. Let us amplify your voice and share your story on FFN Network and with the world. Get to know our founder, Blaise St. Pierre, the new guy in the media industry. So if you have a great idea for a show or a business and want to place an ad on FFN Network, give us a call at 774-704-5145 or email us at ffnnetwork9@gmail.com and join the FFN Network family. Thank you. FFN Network.
love that music. I love that intro. I'm going to give a thank you again and a salute to my engineer, Mr. Blazeman, for getting that all together. What a wonderful introduction and opening that is for us. We're going to continue on in just a second, but I want to recap over here. The coronavirus was something that they knew about and they had isolated back in 1965. I was less than a year old when this happened, ladies and gentlemen. And they had isolated.
Operation Warp Speed? I'm sorry. Where's the warp and the speed? Pfizer, 1990, the very first spike protein vaccine for coronavirus. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it fascinating that we were told that, well, the spike protein is a new thing. We just found out that that's the problem. No. As a matter of fact, we didn't just find out it was not just now the problem. We found that out in 1990 and filed the first patents on vaccines in 1990 for the spike protein of coronavirus. And who would have thought? Pfizer. Clearly the innocent organization that does nothing but promote human health. Clearly Pfizer. The organization that has not bought the votes in this chamber and in every chamber of every government around the world. Not that Pfizer. Certainly they wouldn't have had anything to do with this. But oh yes, they did. And in 1990 they found out that there was a problem with vaccines. They didn't work. You know why they didn't work? It turns out that coronavirus is a very malleable model. It transforms and it changes and it mutates over time. As a matter of fact, every publication on vaccines for coronavirus from 1990 until 2018, every single publication concluded that coronavirus escapes the vaccine impulse because it modifies and mutates too quickly.
Ladies and gentlemen, think back now to this pandemic that we had with the coronavirus. And think of this thing that they came out with, that they had isolated, and they had come out and they had the vaccine and whatever else. And then, oh no, well, it's not working. You got to have a booster shot, and then another booster shot, and then another booster shot. Oh no, well, coronavirus, now it's a different strain, or it's a different generation or whatever else. They knew about this back in 1990. They knew about this before the turn of the damn millennium, these sons of bitches. And we're supposed to sit around with masks on our freaking face and shut down our country, ruining our economy and the lives of countless numbers of people. How many people suffering? How many people dead? Can you imagine this? And they already knew about it. They knew. Go ahead. Play more of the video.
Quickly for vaccines to be effective. And since 1990 to 2018, that is the published science, ladies and gentlemen. That's following the science. Following the science is their own indictment of their own programs that said it doesn't work. And there are thousands of publications to that effect, not a few hundred, and not paid for by pharmaceutical companies. These are publications that are independent scientific research that shows unequivocally, including efforts of the chimera modifications made by Ralph Baric in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. All of them show vaccines do not work on coronavirus. That's the science. And that science has never been disputed. But then we had an interesting development in 2002. And this date is most important. Because in 2002, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill patented, and I quote, an infectious replication defective clone of coronavirus. Listen to those words. Infectious replication defective. What does that phrase actually mean? For those of you not familiar with language, let me unpack it for you. Infectious replication defective means a weapon. It means something meant to target an individual but not have collateral damage to other individuals. That's what infectious replication defective means. And that patent was filed in 2002 on work funded by NIAID's Anthony Fauci from 1999 to 2002. And that work, patented at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, mysteriously preceded SARS 1.0 by a year. Dave, are you suggesting that SARS 1.0 wasn't from a wet market in Wuhan? Are you suggesting it might have come from a laboratory in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill?
I can hear your laughter in the background, Mr. Blazeman. Do you have something you'd like to add? I'd love to hear it.
Oh, no, I'm good. I just think it's, again, ridiculously funny that we reported on the FFN network how full of shit this coronavirus, Fauci, and every last one of them was. And look at this guy just ripping them to shreds. But don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if this is taken off of Facebook. We are live as I speak right now, live on ffnnetwork.org. Go check us out.
The word is out here now, ladies and gentlemen. The information is here, and it is here to stay. It's not getting taken out. It's not getting glossed over. It's out there, and now you know. And I pray to God that every person who hears this, who sees this, shares this, tells your friends, look, this is what happened. Then when they keep telling you, follow the science, bullshit. This is the truth. This is the science they don't want you to know about, to follow. But this is the truth. Go ahead. Run some more of this.
No, I'm not suggesting it. I'm telling you that's the facts. We engineered SARS. SARS is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. The naturally occurring phenomenon is called the common cold. It's called influenza-like illness. It's called gastroenteritis. That's the naturally occurring coronavirus. SARS is the research developed by humans weaponizing a life system model to actually attack human beings. And they patented it in 2002. And in 2003, most of you don't know that coronavirus as a model.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's the answer. Now you know. They took this disease and they mutated it in laboratories. They got it attacking dogs and cattle. And now suddenly, ladies and gentlemen, suddenly we started having all these problems they started having with the cattle, and they had to start for unexplained reasons. They started having to take and put down all these cattle and so forth. And then in 2002, they turned it into a weapon. And then it came out somehow, starting somewhere in China. And it spread like a wildfire. And they knew about it. They knew where it came from. They knew that it couldn't be stopped because it would continue to keep mutating. It would self-correct itself, find its way to continue on. They knew. And all along the time, leading us around by the nose, you have to do this. You need this. If you don't do this, then you're against the world. You have to follow what the government tells you. We're mandating it. You have to get this. Now countless people have been exposed to something that did no good for them, And it's even come out that these injections eventually are causing people to develop blood clots and harming them. And it was all done at the hands of who? Of who? It wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't George Herbert Walker, Kennebunkport Bush, or George W. Bush. It wasn't Ronald Reagan. It wasn't Richard Nixon. It was our president, Joseph Biden. It was Joseph Biden and his administration. Joseph Biden and his administration are directly responsible for purveying before the American people and even the world a most heinous and dubious fraud in healthcare and in world health. They knew it. They knew it. And these people deign to be seeking re-election. I want the people out there to know about this. I'm not pulling any punches. And I don't give, pardon my language, but a fiddler as fuck if anybody turns around and says that I'm somehow detached or unhinged. This should never have happened. This should never have taken place. But it did. Now, what are you people going to do about it? We're the American people. Well, we have got coming up after me, ladies and gentlemen. I want to give a smile on my face. Our my dear friends, the I-12 GIA group is going to come up, and they're going to have one hell of a show to be talking about. If you think this was captivating information, you ain't seen nothing yet compared to what these guys are going to have for you. They're going to be up here coming up right about at the 2000 hours or 8 p.m. your Eastern Daylight Time. We'll let you stay in. We've got a number of other things that we've been talking about. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have been affected by the coronavirus and so on, like maybe you might have had someone who was horribly ill. You may have lost someone. I'm very sorry. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I believe you've got someone you can turn around and point at and say, thank you very much, you fucking asshole. Thank you for berefting my family of these loved ones. And you knew what was going to happen, and you did nothing but turn around and put stupid, useless crap jabs in our arms. I hope these people realize what the hell is going on. Mr. Blazeman, I'm not certain. I believe we had one or two other videos we wanted to, if we could clip in. Yeah, here's our friend. We had, remember we talking about Hanoi Jane. The picture here you're seeing her holding some clothing. Jane Fonda, and in the mirror image you will see Robert De Niro. This is a clip from a movie called Stanley and Iris from 1990s. A story about a fellow who was a civil person who had some learning disability issues, and it's actually a true story. But the man actually was brilliant. But well, so much for Robert De Niro. Go ahead, launch that video. Let's see Stanley and Iris. Can we get that to play? Yeah. The moron riding a bicycle with a wolf.
I don't know what I'm keeping these for. They're just gonna get moths. Try this on. Come on. That's pretty good.
Iris, I'm glad to have the clothes, but I want to tell you something. There's a different man in them.
Not so very.
Two peas in a pod.
we're gonna walk around each other. Is that what we're gonna do, Iris? Is that what two grown-up people do?
It's what one nervous woman does.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna spend some time and money on you. See if we can't put a match to this fire.
Don't go crazy. You're not a rich man.
Feel like one. Look like one.
Well,
5 words.
there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that nice? All snug as 2 bugs in a rug, a war criminal, and a long-haired jackass who likes to portray something that he's not. Well, that all those things having been said, we've had fun this evening, boy. Wah! Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say one? Oh, my goodness. Oh, dear. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got people that have been negatively impacted by all of these things, I am terribly sorry. I do not have an answer for you. But one thing I have been able to give to you, and I'm glad that we're able to go ahead and provide for you, is confirmation of your suspicions that have been out there for so long. But this was no accident. What happened here to the American people and to the world was a heinous and shameful, dubious perpetration at the hands of the Biden administration at all. All of that having been said, I want to thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Like I said, in a few minutes, we've got the I-12 GIA people coming up. It's been a long, long day, and we're probably going to be spending another long, long day tomorrow waiting for the jury to come out with whatever it is they're going to do through their deliberations. Popular thought is now that they're probably going to deliberate all day tomorrow and may come up with a decision by sometime Friday, just in time for the weekend. Who knows? We'll see what happens. If you like this, share it. Tell your people about Politicking with Mr. B. Tell your people about FFN Network. And if you've got an idea for a program, get a hold of us. Call, go to the website, look at the information to call, or write in ffnnetwork9@gmail.com. Send the information off to Blazeman. He'll contact you and say maybe we can set something up, because we would like to have more shows come to us so that we can continue to inform the world. All of this being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mr. B. I thank you all very much for watching. We're going to get on the road and get ready for the I-12 GIA people standing by. I'll see you all again next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
You have just watched an FFN Network production.